Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day. I told you there was a lot of news, so here I am with the second video because it's just absolutely insane everything that's been happening. And all this stuff happens within a short period of time. It's not even like it's taking place over the course of multiple weeks. In a day, I usually have enough to make 4 videos, but I don't think I'm mentally able to do that. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. It says the head of the world's largest asset manager has provided a somewhat bullish take on Bitcoin. According to a report on CNBC on Tuesday, the CEO of BlackRock, Larry Fink, said Bitcoin has caught the attention of many people and that the cryptocurrency market was still relatively small compared to others. Speaking to the former Bank of England Governor Mark Carney at the Council on Foreign Relations on Tuesday, Fink said the nascent cryptocurrency asset class can possibly evolve into a global market asset. According to the report, Fink also said having a digital currency has a real impact on the US dollar, making it less relevant, the US dollar, on a global scale for international holders of dollar-based assets. He also raised the question, does it change the need for the dollar as a reserve currency? We are on the cusp of something. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it is abundantly clear that Bitcoin is at the very center of all of it. It is kind of weird at this point. It's one thing to have a whole bunch of people hating us. It's another thing to have all these people talking about how amazing Bitcoin is. Once again, Bitcoin has been around for 12 years. And I assume within the last 6 years, it has been established that Bitcoin is going to be the new reserve something, the new reserve whatever, taking over the US dollar, taking over gold. But the amount of energy that's being pushed out in the last couple of weeks by institutions, by hedge fund managers, by the largest asset managing firm on the entire planet, talking about do we still need the US dollar and how Bitcoin could become a global asset is a bit insane. Part of the issue that I have, tiny little issue with all of this, here's it also right here. It says Bitcoin makes the US dollar less relevant. This was said by the CEO of BlackRock. We had news about BlackRock years ago. They hated Bitcoin. Here it is right here on Investopedia. It says BlackRock rips Bitcoin. They said buy crypto only if you're ready for complete losses. This is the 25th of June, 2019. Even before that, they were one of the main institutions who kept on saying, don't buy it, it's garbage, it's trash, we don't need it. This was when we had the entire narrative blockchain, not Bitcoin. The idea was that Bitcoin ran on blockchain. We can make brand new blockchains and therefore we'd have no need for Bitcoin at all. The other really weird reason or the other really weird thing is that we've heard from multiple companies, and I don't know if they've just simply slipped while they were saying it, but nearly all the companies at some point who announced that they were against Bitcoin, Bitcoin was garbage in 2018, 2019, had told us this year that they had been looking at Bitcoin since 2014, and that's actually when they entered the market. So, speculation, BlackRock was probably also in there since 2014 as well, because 2014 is the time frame that we heard from the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ that they were thinking of getting into Bitcoin. There is no way on this planet that the people, the higher-ups, from the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ got into Bitcoin without all their other rich friends knowing. All these people know each other. They all have the exact same conversations. If they're going to bet on something that could potentially make them worth $100 billion, if not $1 trillion, they're going to usually share the word, spread the word, so that they all kind of get in on it as well. The other really weird part, for those of you not looking at the screen, it says 14th of August, 2020. BlackRock gets exposure to Bitcoin through MicroStrategy. Both firms U-turn on crypto shaming. It was another company who also said it as well. So, yeah, I mean, it's for me, it ends up being sad because what happens is when we do get these rich people, these institutions who did come forward years ago or are still coming forward now talking about that Bitcoin is garbage. Whenever Peter Schiff is in the news and he's saying, oh, you need to buy gold as opposed to buying Bitcoin, there are people who listen to them and they don't understand that these people are, excuse my French, that they're BSing. That they know good and well that Bitcoin is going to take over, that Bitcoin is going to be this new global world reserve currency, and the people who get into it early are going to be the richest. So they do whatever's in their power to make sure to tell people, hey, it's garbage, don't touch it, don't do it, tons of losses, don't even look at it. How funny that they're now all talking about that it could overtake the US dollar. This isn't something that entered their head about 5 weeks ago and they went, Bitcoin? Blockchain, Bitcoin. I think I buy Bitcoin now. Like they've known all of this for a very long time. This has all been incredibly coordinated. But once again, the people who end up missing out are the people who think that these people are in it for their best interest, and they're not. They're looking after themselves. This is why the last video, like the last video that I just made, we had news. What was it? That there was like a not a secret document, but like a form that had been sent out to customers of some institution, and it got slid to CoinDesk, and they ended up giving us that information the same exact way before that we had heard a month or two ago that there was some other company who had released news to their clients saying, hey, if you don't have Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin right now. And luckily one of the people who received that information like kind of sent it out to the cryptocurrency news world, and that's how we found out about it. That means that behind the scenes there are tons, if not 100 companies on this planet, at least 100 right now, who are sending letters to their clients saying, if you do not have an allocation into Bitcoin, you need to do so right now before things completely get crazy. Oh, and the other thing was that we were never supposed to have heard about the Citibank thing. That was a thing that they also sent out to their clients that was meant to be hush-hush, that Bitcoin within the next 13 months is going to hit $300,000. The point to be made is, behind the scenes, they're making sure that they maintain their wealth and that they become incredibly, disgustingly wealthy. That's the point of this channel, is to make sure that you have all this news as well. Because I have a lot of friends, and it makes me cringe sometimes, because I have friends sometimes who ask me about getting into the cryptocurrency space, and they go, should I get XRP? Should I get so and so? I heard Compound is good. What about Sushi this? And I sit there and I'm like, no, you should. If you're just here for the long term to retire early, just buy Bitcoin. And then they always ask me, always, well, why is Bitcoin so good? I heard good thing about other coins, and I can't give them all this information. It's so difficult. Think of everything we've gone over this year alone, not even the last 3.5, 4 years that I've been doing this channel. Think of everything we've been talking about. Imagine trying to tell someone all of that information in one go. It's impossible. So it's so exhausting when I hear people like friends or family members or anyone else like, well, why should I get into Bitcoin? And it's like, if you only knew, usually, and this is not being mean, they usually don't even understand the effect of inflation, what the US dollar means and how the US dollar takes over the entire world. I've sent articles to people where hedge fund managers and banks and stuff like that are talking about the end of the US dollar and Bitcoin potentially taking over gold. And they go, yeah, well, that sounds good, but who buys gold anyway? Like, I think I'm going to buy some other coin. And I sit there wanting to scream. It's like, what are you not understanding? So I've seen people in the comment section as well. I responded back to one earlier in the last video. Someone was commenting, they were saying it's so frustrating because they try to explain this to their mother, to their father, grandparents. I kind of let them be at this point. I don't expect my grandmother at any point to be mass trading cryptocurrencies, but brothers and sisters and friends and family members trying to explain all these things to them. And they just don't want to hear it, or they hear what they want to hear. My friend in Paris just told me that someone, I don't know if I told you this story, this was 3 months ago. One of his friends living in South America contacted him to try and get it into the crypto space and told him all he had to do was lend him $300 into some platform called like Bitcoin Superior or some crap like that. And he was going to get his money back. And it's like, what? And listen, I'm going to move on from this point, but the entire idea is at least at least you're here, at least you have a general great understanding of where the cryptocurrency space is going to go, because these people rule the world. They have enough money that they can move entire markets if they wish. All these people have come out with the same exact news. I hate Bitcoin. It's garbage. I love Bitcoin. Gold is going down. Gold is going to replace Bitcoin. Can Bitcoin replace the US dollar? The world reserve currency. So, yeah. That's the beginning of the video, and let's move on. Is this the actual, what is this right here? Here's something else. The US dollar index fell sharply today, extending a 10-month losing streak that places it at its lowest point since April 2018. International news agency Reuters marked the occasion with a story headlined, "Dollar plummets on US stimulus hopes, Bitcoin hits all-time high." The article noted the tumble coincided with today's news of 19 being discussed in Congress and the recommendations of negotiations between the U.S. Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin and House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi. The piece contrasted the falling dollar with the rising price of Bitcoin, which briefly surpassed its all-time high for the second day in a row on Tuesday. A lot of people were very happy about this. We are finally getting the news coverage, not that we even deserve, that they should have been putting out months ago as we were rising up in price. The fact that we keep hearing consistently that all these hedge fund managers are into Bitcoin, like imagine if Reuters, and I'm not trying to knock Reuters or Bloomberg or any other place. Imagine if they had put that into the news, or even CNBC or CNN or Fox News. Imagine a headline: company buys 528,000 Bitcoin 1 week. And then 5 weeks later, they posted this company has made $300, $400, $500 million, what that would have done to the market. But all that's still being kept very hush-hush. Even Reuters isn't an everyone news agency. Reuters is kind of like Bloomberg and Morning Sun. These are the things that are made for rich people to read, so this is still rich people news. But the point being, everyone's paying attention to Bitcoin now. Or rather, everyone should be paying attention to Bitcoin, but there are still tons of people who are going to say what they're going to say. I'm tired of fighting people in the comment section or looking at people trying to fight with me, which is also a very weird thing. People like, hey, I know that this coin's better than so-and-so. You're not paying attention to Spark. And I'm like, I don't care. When these hedge fund managers, when the head of BlackRock, which I think is from the Rockefeller family, when they announce that they're buying Spark, that they're buying Sushi Coin, that they're buying Compound, that they're invested heavily in Litecoin, we'll have this conversation. But as of now, they're not, and they're not going to. The only other coin that we keep hearing that they're in is Ethereum. That's it. Anyway, the US dollar continues to fall. If Citibank is right, the US dollar is going to collapse next year. And don't have an argument with me that 20% isn't a collapse. If you are the world reserve currency, you do not collapse by 5% in 1 year. You do not collapse by 20% over the course of a 13-month period as the reserve currency. So, only time will tell, but I feel like at this point we're heading there. Why is there so much support from all these hedge fund managers and all these banks moving away from the US dollar, moving away from gold? And also don't forget that other conversation we just had about on the other channel about the new Bretton Woods moment. I think it was the IMF who was talking about it, like having a new Bretton Woods, like replacing the current world currency with something else. Let's move on. The New York Digital Investment Group, or New York DIG, has raised $150 million for 2 of its cryptocurrency funds, bringing more institutions to the digital currency economy. In 2 separate filings with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, the fund manager revealed that it had received $50 million for one of its funds and another $100 million for asset fund number 2. Those 50 million sums came in from only 2 heavy... Wait. Something wrong with the sound again. Anyway. From only 2 heavy investors. Wow. Those 50 million came from only 2 heavyweight investors. Good job. The crypto fund manager operates multiple funds and received hundreds of millions from investors, becoming one of the largest Bitcoin fund managers. I thought I was rereading something, but I'm not. It says the new proceeds came in only 2 months after New York Dig revealed that it had received $190 million from another Bitcoin fund manager by it. Yeah, I saw this article earlier and I was like, oh, they're just like reposting something. Nope. First they gathered $190 million and now another $150 million for 2 Bitcoin funds. Of course, no names as to where the money came from. I assume these people want to be relatively hush-hush as to who's putting the money into it. But we're here. The institutional money that we heard was going to enter the market in 2018 from Coinbase and the like is definitely swirling all around us. Someone mentioned in an article that this is like it's one of the most peaceful and quiet revolutions that has ever happened. You normally, historically, cannot and would not ever have the replacement of a currency or a store of value as gold without there being some, strife during all of this. And the fact that this is all, this is happening right now around us. It's just digital waves that are passing through us, but no one's really talking about it. So it's quite fascinating to see it and read about it taking place. But think about that. There are billions of people on the planet who have no idea what's going on. They have no clue what's currently taking place around them, amongst them. Anyway, that's the New York Dig news. So 190 million and 150 million for 2 Bitcoin funds. In one of my favorite news stories in 2 days, China's state-run news agency or press agency, Xinhuanet, has published a short piece urging citizens in the country to ignore the hype of Bitcoin and instead keep faith in the state's pro-blockchain policies. In the piece, which was carried by media outlets such as Sina, 2 Tianjin-based Xinhuan staff reporters wrote that it was not clear what had caused the recent rise in Bitcoin's prices. That's a lie. We know exactly what caused the rise in Bitcoin's prices. It was 5 hedge funds who came forward and said that they were allocating hundreds of millions of dollars individually into Bitcoin. It was banks discussing the drop in the US dollar, Bitcoin potentially hitting 300,000 US dollars, and multiple banks and multiple institutions and JP Morgan Chase and all these other people talking about that gold is going to fall to Bitcoin. We know exactly what caused it. However, they referred to Bitcoin prices as hype, adding that the risks associated with trading in the token are also rising sharply. This is complete nonsense and they know it. And this is why it's one of my favorite news stories. Because China is desperate to try and release their central bank digital currency out as quick as humanly possible, because we're also going to talk about something that's also going to be launching relatively soon as well, which could possibly push them aside and all the hype that they've been trying to garner. The other situation is that within China, they announced that Bitcoin trading is illegal. You are able to legally own Bitcoin and hold it and custody it and all these other kind of things, but you cannot trade it because that is too speculative for them. It also helps a lot of people to not want to get into the cryptocurrency market because the news media keeps coming out saying it's speculative, don't do it, don't touch it, hype, 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 hype. Knowing good and well exactly where Bitcoin is going. We've had news and speculation for a very long time that China themselves were also accumulating huge amounts of Bitcoin. It's always a shame when governments are so greedy that they won't even let their citizens know what they're doing. Imagine, whatever. The point being, the entire stay on the blockchain path. I told you this last year. A lot of you probably weren't even here. Andreas Antonopoulos created a book called, I think it was Mastering Bitcoin. China took the book, re-edited it, and took out the name Bitcoin everywhere and replaced it with blockchain. So the book then became Mastering Blockchain. They're obsessed with trying to get people on this path of understanding that it's just blockchain, nothing else. Don't look around, don't look at the walls, don't look at the corners. It's just blockchain that's going to make it incredibly sad. And they know wholeheartedly exactly how big Bitcoin is, having the nerve to say they have. Why did Bitcoin go up in price? I don't know. I can't imagine why it did it. Absolute nonsense. I saw this news. I thought it was quite interesting because we've gotten to the point where I mean, listen, we've been here for a long time. I was gonna say where a government has openly lied, but I think that's just common practice at this point. Anyway, let's move on to the news that I could not escape from. The Libra Association, a member organization of Facebook's Libra initiative, announced that it had changed its name to Diem, that is DIEM as in Carpe Diem, and recruited several world-class experts as it progresses towards regulatory approval for launch. Now transitioning to the name Diem, which denounce a new day for the project, the Diem Association will continue to pursue a mission of building a safe, secure, and compliant payment system that empowers people and businesses around the world. The news of the day is Libra has rebranded to Diem. Wow, amazing. It's all over the place. People are losing their actual minds talking about this. What it basically has to do with is they're trying to rebrand because no one likes Libra. So if you rename it to something else completely different, it has a different ring to it. Maybe people don't associate it directly with Facebook. If you say that Diem is trying to do something, well, I know that Libra is terrible, but Diem is now something that we also have to, and listen, they've also had a huge amount of bad press. Huge. In the last year and a half. If you type in Facebook Libra, you're going to get thousands upon thousands of articles about how terrible it is and how awful it is and how the government shouldn't do this and the governments don't want this and yada, yada, yada. If you type in Diem, you don't really get any news searches for it, do you? So Libra has rebranded to Diem. It says hoping to shake off associations. I'm pretty sure behind the scenes they were like, we have to change our name because if you type in anything about Facebook coin, Facebook crypto, Facebook cryptocurrency, Facebook Libra, Libra coin, Libra cryptocurrency, all you found was negative news about how the IMF doesn't like it, the BIS doesn't like it, how they didn't receive this, how they had to do that. So it's now called Diem. There was some news during the beginning of this week and more so last week about acquisitions that they had been doing as far as like hiring new people. Their team is stacked. They have people from all around the world, former heads of banks, CEOs, hedge fund managers, basically trying to not shield themselves, but make sure that regulatorily, not a word. Is it a word? Regulatory? No, it's not a word. That they are hyper compliant and that they kind of get this off the ground because the news that we received is that they're going to try and launch in January, which I assume they're going to do. It's just a matter of the full rollout. That I think many people are kind of waiting for. And this is exactly what I said. This whole thing over here with China. A lot of people think that China's trying to position itself as the new world currency leader, taking over the US dollar, getting rid of gold. But a lot of things are in their path, one of them being Bitcoin and the other one being Diem, which is also a kind of a weird name. Anyway, that's the Diem news all over the place. And let's move on. Digital asset manager Grayscale is bringing back its controversial Drop Gold campaign just in time for it says the potential Bitcoin bull market. We're in a bull market right now. Like we hit our previous all-time high. Like if you don't think you're in a bull market, I got news for you. CEO Barry Silbert tweeted on Tuesday that the 30-second advertisement will be running on major networks all over the country. The commercial implores... okay, I'm so stupid. I thought it was implies and explores, and I was like, implores what? The commercial implores investors to leave the pack behind by dropping gold once again and adding digital assets like Bitcoin to their portfolio. They said, in a digital world, gold shouldn't weigh down your portfolio. They had a commercial like this months ago or something like that, where like somebody was running down the street with like a big bag of gold, but it was weighing them down, so they had to drop it. And then the other people who had dropped their gold first were like running at super speed. So I guess they're trying to do the exact same thing. Grayscale launched its Drop Gold campaign in May 2019. My gosh, when Bitcoin was trading at $5,400. At the time, few institutional investors had come out publicly in favor of digital assets, and now they are all in love with Bitcoin. All of them. So, yeah, kind of popular news, if you will. Grayscale has done, understatement, has done very, very well for themselves over the course of, since forever at this point. The last news that we got was that they are in possession of 526,000 Bitcoin. I assume that number has risen to a lot more than that. Anyway, that's the Grayscale drop gold news. It says this somewhere in the article, mentioning this article, that they were banks who were also announcing before. This is from like a week and a half ago or something like that. It says Deutsche Bank says investors increasingly choosing Bitcoin over gold to hedge dollar risk and inflation. The future is going to be crazy, dude. Like, you don't understand how wild it's going to get. And it's only the fact that we have banks openly discussing this means that they are speculating, that they've already moved forward, that this is the area that we're going into. People aren't even realizing it. I understand the whole buy Bitcoin and buy gold narrative that I've seen people saying to own both. If gold is going to go, first of all, we have two ways that gold is going to go. Gold is at 1,800. People are talking about that gold is going to drop back below 1,000 within the next couple of months as Bitcoin starts skyrocketing. The other side of that is that gold could potentially go to 5,000. That was a number that we heard from some other bank. But they said at the exact same time, gold would double 2.5 in price, and Bitcoin would go from 20,000 to 300,000. There's no contest. There's zero contest. Zero. Z-E-R-O contest for any of this. Anyway, let's move on to the other really weird. So much weird news. Like, so much like revelatory. What's wrong with me? News that has revolutionized us. I'm just going to shut up and read. Next up, here's the craziest story of the day. Leading U.S. cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase has assisted MicroStrategy's massive purchase of $425 million worth of Bitcoin. The platform pledged to help other large firms diversify their portfolios with Bitcoin in the future as well. The NASDAQ-listed business intelligence firm made the news on 2 occasions earlier this year that it had purchased 38,250 Bitcoin. At the time, the sizable amount equaled around $425 million. It is well above that right now. However, the entity that helped broker the deal remained unknown until today. The San Francisco-based crypto exchange Coinbase announced that it was selected as the primary execution partner for the MicroStrategy's $425 million purchase of Bitcoin. MicroStrategy told us earlier this year their first purchase, I believe, was it $250 million, and then another $175 million. I don't remember the exact numbers, and don't really matter. What happened is that they told us they had accumulated all this Bitcoin without moving the market. That was the craziest part, because they told us they told us around here, we had gotten into the market around this time frame. We purchased X amount of Bitcoin, and I think they said that they had executed 88,000 trades, which helped them to basically balance the market. The market did not move. There were no spikes. There were no drops as all of this trading was happening. $425 million worth of Bitcoin without moving the market was purchased by one company, and Coinbase helped them. That is crazy. That lets me know without a shadow of a doubt. This is an assumption, just using my brain. Coinbase is probably helping out at least 3 other mega companies to do the exact same thing. And the craziest part is they've probably been able to help these companies buy up as much Bitcoin as possible without even moving the market. Isn't that wild? Does that not, that's freaking crazy. $425 million worth of Bitcoin was purchased in September of this year. And they found a way to I assume they used bots. I don't think they had 30,000 people executing all these trades. Did not move the market. I find it very exciting, because that means Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, and other institutions are helping these companies do the exact same thing, buying up tons of Bitcoin. They're not moving the market. So there's only going to be X amount of Bitcoin on cryptocurrency exchanges, and that's all that there's going to be for people to buy. Oh boy, we are definitely here. Yeah. I don't have my phone with me. Thank you all very much to my Patreon supporters. Thank you to everyone who's a member of the channel. If this news doesn't get you hyped up, go get your blood pressure checked out, dude, because it's clear everything that's going to take place. The only other part that we really need right now, the only other piece of the puzzle, for me, it was Bitcoin passing the previous all-time high. Bitcoin's already recovering from the drop that we had from people who were interesting enough to sell off their coins. The next part is, if Plan B and Citibank are correct and we pass a $100,000 Bitcoin, written in the stars. If gold drops, Bitcoin has secured itself as the world reserve asset. If the US dollar drops next year, if you don't have Bitcoin by that point, I'm trying to choose my words kindly because this is insane. Do you understand the amount of money being pushed into this market right now? Like, this isn't even like the late game money. This is the right now money. And it's hundreds of millions and billions of dollars being pushed in over the course of a 2-3 week period. So, I wish all of you the best. I really honestly do. The amount of people who keep telling me that they don't own any Bitcoin, Bitcoin means nothing to them, or they make sure to remark on Bitcoin's slow transactions. Bitcoin, these people don't care that Bitcoin can only do 3 transactions per second. That's not one thing that they happen to miss in their 500-page pamphlet as they were reading about all of this. There wasn't a page missing that said Bitcoin 3 transactions per second. The idea is to buy a Bitcoin. You can still trade in Bitcoin regardless of the 3 transactions per second. You can still move transactions around. Surprise! The point is to gather as much Bitcoin as possible to sell off gold. When there's not enough Bitcoin left, Bitcoin's price skyrockets and begins to take over many other assets. Many people put their money into Bitcoin, and Bitcoin becomes a reserve currency the same way that we had gold before 1971, where if you hold the most Bitcoin, you can start issuing your own currency against it. That's how it's going to work out, and that's how it's going to be. We're going to see new currencies that are going to sprout from countries holding Bitcoin. That's the entire point. You don't even need to move the actual Bitcoin around. It just has to be held and kind of stuck there. And any new Bitcoin that enters the market is going to be bought up by institutions and companies. This is what we heard the other day as well, where Max Kaiser was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that they're going to go directly to the miners and just make sure that they're getting all of their Bitcoin. Man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. I do hope you all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, a great morning, a great afternoon, a great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.